You know, I was reading through the source material for today, this memoir excerpt you sent over, and there's this one tiny detail right at the start that I just can't get out of my head.
Oh, yeah.
It's a typo, a simple accidental keystroke.
A typo. You're starting a deep dive on, grief in existence with a typo.
Bear with me because it's actually kind of profound. The narrator, he's sitting at his keyboard, typing out this incredibly raw story about losing his partner. He means to type the word wife, W-I-F-E.
Okay.
But his finger slips, and instead he types life, L-I-F-E.
Wow. That's the classic Freudian slip, isn't it?
It's almost too on the nose to be real, but he says it happened. And it frames everything we're about to talk about, because for him, in his head, those two words are basically synonyms.
Right. The wife is the life.
Exactly. When she exits, the life he knew it goes with her. It's like his subconscious was screaming out the theme before he even finished the first sentence.
It's a powerful entry point. And that really is the mission for this deep dive. We aren't just, recounting a sad story here. We are looking at a very specific, almost microscopic slice of time from this document, Chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to unpack the psychology of grief, the weird way trauma just warps our perception of time, and this really profound idea of the witness in a relationship.
And just to set the stakes for everyone listening, we aren't talking about the funeral. We aren't talking about, the months of depression afterward or the moving on phase. We are zooming in on the exact minute, literally the specific minute, a person transitions from being part of a we to just being an I.
Which is a terrifying transition when you stop to think about it. It's a fundamental rewriting of your identity.
And it all happens in such a mundane place, a hospital hallway, on a Monday afternoon. So walk us into the room, because the medical context here is actually pretty crucial to understanding the narrator's headspace. He's not in a panic, which I found interesting. He's almost resigned.
Resigned is the perfect word. To get his mindset, you have to look at the medical reality. By the time we enter the scene, the battle is over. Natalie, his wife, she's on 100% oxygen support.
Right.
The doctor has been very clear. The machines are the only things keeping her going. There's no coming back from this.
Which brings up this really difficult, pragmatic moment. He mentions the talk. I think a lot of long-term couples have had a version of this, right? The if I'm a vegetable, pull the plug conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something you say over dinner and just hope you never, ever have to act on.
But there's a nuance in the text that I think is brilliant, and it explains why he's so functional. He emphasizes that the decision to turn off the oxygen wasn't his decision.
Yes. This is key.
How so? I mean, he's the husband. He's the one who has to give the nod.
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
But in his own mind, no. He says it wasn't a tough decision because it wasn't mine. He sees himself as just the executor of her will.
He's just abiding by the agreement they made.
He's just abiding, exactly.
Yeah. That's a huge psychological distinction. It takes the guilt of playing God or giving up off the table.
And replaces it with the duty of keeping a promise. He's not killing her, he's honoring her. It shifts the whole burden from choice to duty.
So the scene is set. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. The room is full. Her brother, sister-in-law, best friends, his brother, the whole crew.
Everyone is there for the end. Natalie is medicated, so she isn't suffering. And the nurse is just standing by waiting for him to give the signal.
And this is where the story takes a turn that I found so just frustratingly human. You expect this big cinematic goodbye, right?
Tears, final words, holding hands as the monitor flatlines.
Yeah. But biology gets in the way.
The narrator realizes he has to use the restroom.
It's absurd. The love of your life is taking her last breaths, and your body is like, hey, sorry to interrupt the tragedy, but we need a bathroom break.
It feels wrong to even laugh, but it's so real. Grief isn't a movie. It's messy. It's interrupted by, mundane bodily functions. It doesn't pause for dramatic effect.
So he has to excuse himself. He leaves this heavy, tragic room and steps out into the hallway.
In this walk, this is where our deep dive really starts, because as soon as he steps out of that room, the atmosphere just completely shifts. He goes from this warm, suffocating space of love and death
into the real world.
The sterility of a hospital corridor. And as anyone who's been in a huge hospital knows, nothing is ever convenient. He thinks a restroom is right there, but no. He has to walk a few hundred yards, all the way to the end of the hall and turn right.
And of course, because the universe has a dark sense of humor, what does he find when he gets there?
Locked doors. Both single-occupancy restrooms are occupied.
So he's just stuck. He can't go back to the room yet, and he can't use the facilities. He just has to lean against the wall and wait.
And this is the moment. This is where we get the real deep dive into his psyche. He says he feels numb. He's in limbo. He already said his real goodbyes that morning, while she was still conscious. So now, he's just waiting for the inevitable. But standing there staring at a locked door, it triggers something.
It's a flashback, but it's such a strange one. You'd think he'd flash back to their wedding or a great vacation, something big.
Some highlight reel moment.
But no! He starts thinking about all the times he waited for Natalie to use the restroom when they were out at, restaurants or shops.
It was a running thing in their marriage. She took a long time, and she knew it. It was one of those little couples things.
And he admits something pretty honest here. He doesn't paint himself as this perfect, patient husband.
No, not at all. He talks about standing outside stores, checking his watch, feeling bored, maybe even a little irritated, just thinking, come on, what is taking so long?
I think we've all been there, waiting for a partner, feeling that low-level annoyance of, my time is being wasted. It feels so small and petty.
But look at how grief completely reframes that waste. Standing there in that hospital, knowing she will never make him wait again. That annoyance turns into this desperate regret.
He says he wished he could have those frustrating times back.
That hit me hard. The realization that the boredom, the waiting, the annoyance, that was actually a luxury.
He didn't know how good he had it when he was just bored.
It's a massive insight. We tend to value the big moments, right? The vacations, the anniversaries. But he realizes the mundane stuff, waiting outside a restroom, that's the actual fabric of the relationship.
And when the fabric tears, you don't miss the pattern, you miss the threads.
Yes.
Yeah.
He realizes that wasting time with her was better than any time he could possibly spend without her.
And while he's spiraling in this regret, something weird happens with his perception of time. He actually brings up Albert Einstein.
Yeah, the theory of relativity, of all things.
He quotes it, when you sit with a nice girl for 2 hours, it seems like 2 minutes. When you sit on a hot stove for 2 minutes, it seems like 2 hours.
It's the subjectivity of time. Time is not a constant when emotion gets involved.
And he applies this to his grief. He says that since this all started, 30 seconds felt like half an eternity.
Think about the neurology of that. When you're in high-stress trauma, your brain records every single detail for survival. The frame rate of your memory literally increases, so time feels like it's slowing down.
So he's waiting for a bathroom for, 60 seconds? A minute and a half, tops?
But in his head, he has lived a whole lifetime of regret in that single minute.
In that stretching of time, it creates a gap, a space for his mind to play a trick on him.
Or a coping mechanism. This is where the story shifts from memory to something almost supernatural.
Okay, let's set the visual. He's leaning against the wall, looking back down that long corridor back toward Natalie's room. And then he sees someone.
A woman walking toward him, coming from the direction of the room. And his brain instantly starts firing off these pattern recognition signals.
It starts checking off boxes. Height, same. Build, about the same.
She's wearing a hat. Natalie often wore hats. She's wearing glasses. Natalie wore glasses.
And for just a split second, logic leaves the building. He says, it could have been her.
That phrase is so loaded. It could have been her. Because he knows, logically, exactly where she is. She's in a bed, unconscious, hooked up to machines that are breathing for her.
It is physically impossible.
It's impossible, but his brain just refuses to accept it. He says that on any other day, he would have just assumed it was her. He would have pushed off the wall, walked to her, linked arms.
He describes their little routine. After an x-ray or a test, she'd come out, he'd ask how it went, and they'd talk. Sometimes deep stuff, sometimes silly gossip. And he writes, this should have been one of those times.
That word, should. That's the bargaining stage of grief, isn't it? The universe is breaking its own rules. This shouldn't be happening.
And this leads him to this really interesting tangent on miracles. He says he is long past believing in miracles.
But not for the reason you'd think. It's not because he's a staunch atheist or something.
No, he clarifies that. He says he believes they happen, he just doesn't believe they happen to him.
That is incredibly bleak. Miracles are for other people.
It's a defense mechanism. And he follows it up with this definition of faith that's, it's one of the most profound lines in the whole piece. He says, faith is the absence of a safety net.
Whoa. Let's unpack that. Usually people say faith is the safety net, God will catch me, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You have faith so you don't feel scared. He's completely flipping it.
He's saying true faith is walking the tightrope, knowing there is no net, it's all risk. He says he's walked on too many tightropes and hit the bottom too many times. He knows what the impact feels like.
So his refusal to believe that this woman is Natalie isn't about logic. It's about emotional survival.
Precisely. He can't afford to hope for a miracle because the fall from that hope would absolutely destroy him. It's safer to be a cynic.
So he steals himself. He forces his brain to say, no, that is not her. He watches her get closer. And obviously
her is a stranger.
And she walks right past him.
And notice the interaction, or the lack of one.
Yeah.
She ignores him. She treats him like what he is. A stranger standing near a bathroom. She doesn't smile, doesn't stop, just keeps walking.
But he doesn't just see a stranger. He sees a metaphor playing out in real time. Where is she walking?
He's walking past him down the hall, directly toward the sign that says exit.
You couldn't script that better.
No, you couldn't. And the symbolism just hits him like a train. This Natalie proxy, this woman who looks just enough like her to trick his heart for a second. She is continuing her journey. She's walking toward the exit.
And he is left standing still, anchored to the wall.
He realizes his journey with her, a 28-year journey, has hit a wall. She is continuing on to her ultimate destination, and he can't follow. He's stuck.
And that image, him standing still while she moves away, it triggers this realization of what he's actually losing. It's not just her. It's not just the person he sleeps next to. He talks about losing the witness.
I really want to dig into this. The concept of the witness, it feels like the core emotional argument of the whole piece.
It is the core. It's a concept you see in relationship psychology, but he just articulates it so beautifully. He asks, who is the person who really, truly gets you?
Not the version of you that you show your boss or even your friends. The version of you with all the cracks and inconsistencies.
He says Natalie was the one who understood his flaws, his eccentricities. She didn't just tolerate them. She understood them. She had the context.
She was the keeper of his context. That's a great way to put it. She knew why he reacted to things the way he did. She knew his history because she helped write it. She was the database of his life.
It's like your life is a movie, and she's the only one who's seen the whole thing from the beginning. Everyone else just walked in halfway through. They don't have the backstory.
That's a perfect analogy, and that's the terror of the exit. When the witness leaves the theater, who confirms the first half of the movie even happened? Who's there to say, yeah, I remember when you were young and foolish and brave?
He looks around and realizes that everyone else left. His brother, his friends. They are, in his words, light years away from knowing him the way she did.
It creates this existential crisis. He feels like a library that is burned down, and she was the only one who had read all the books. The void isn't just silence. It's a loss of self-definition.
Without the witness, are you even still the same person?
Does that version of you die with him? It's terrifying. It makes the loss so much bigger than just, I miss her. It's, I miss the me that existed only for her.
Wow.
So the woman passes. She goes through the exit. The hallway's empty again, and the narrator says this is day one.
Day one of a new life. And notice how the setting changes in his mind. It's not just a hospital corridor anymore. He calls it the long corridor called life.
It shifts from a physical location to a state of being. The corridor is his future.
And it's a lonely one. He starts listing the never-agains. No more waiting outside a shop. No more talking about his day. No more laughing with her about something stupid.
But then he lists the musts.
The things he has to do alone now. Every hope, every fear, every dream, every setback. He has to process all of that without his filter, without his partner.
The source material ends with this really striking duality. He knows the stranger wasn't Natalie. He isn't hallucinating. But he writes, in an odd sense, it was.
Because symbolically, it was the moment of departure. The stranger walking to the exit allowed his brain to process the reality of Natalie leaving. It was a physical manifestation of the spiritual severing that was happening down the hall.
He closes it by writing, it could have been her, how I wish it had been. And he's just standing alone in the corridor.
It's devastating, but it also feels like the first step of acceptance. He isn't running back to the room in denial. He isn't chasing the stranger. He's just standing still, accepting that he's now a solitary figure. He's gone from we to I.
You know, we started this with that typo life versus wife. And by the end, you feel how those two words merged and like got torn apart. The wife is gone, but the corridor remains.
And that life looks entirely different now. Longer, quieter, and frighteningly open-ended.
It really makes you think about the people in our own lives who are those witnesses. We get so caught up in the little annoyances, the waiting, the frustrations, the hurry up, we're late.
But this forces you to look at that waiting time and realize, one day, you won't be waiting anymore. And you'd give anything to have that little inconvenience back.
The boring parts aren't just filler. They're the substance.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with something to chew on. We've talked about this idea of the witness, the partner who knows the real you, all your eccentricities and flaws.
The only person with the full context.
Right. So here's the question for you. If our partners are the only ones who truly know that version of us, what happens to that version when they're gone?
Do we cease to be that person when the only witness to it leaves the corridor? Or do we have to somehow learn to be the witness for ourselves?
That's the ultimate challenge of grief, isn't it? Keeping that version of yourself alive when the mirror is broken.
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go hug your witness if you have one. We'll see you next time.